Hello and welcome to the second episode of Streets to Summits. So, yeah, I enjoyed making it. The first episode, I think it went well, and I think I'm gonna keep this up and keep this going because I do quite enjoy this. But basically, the second episode again doesn't won't have really that much because again I didn't prepare that much. That's a fault of mine. And there's some construction work going on where I don't really have electricity right now. So even can't do like the last prep thingies right now. But we still can do a chill episode. So basically, this weekend was well kind of chill, but um, I went to my first ever. Well, this was my first time going to a stand-up comedy event, any event. I've never been to anything similar to it. And basically, how we decided to go there was quite spontaneous. Basically, me and a group of friends of mine, we were just basically talking, and I said that I really need to start going somewhere and just leaving my home because I'm just staying at home for way too long. And I just randomly threw out that maybe go to a stand-up or something. And a couple of minutes later, my friend just sent a link to an event and basically saying, wanna go? And I said, sure, let's go. So basically, the name of the event was Work in Progress. Like, it was longer, but the part that I remember was Work in Progress. So basically, there were four comedians trying out their jokes, but like honestly, I'm not gonna lie, we laughed more on the drive back home of how not funny it was. Like honestly, like the only thing that was making me laugh was a guy sitting behind me and laughing who had a really funny laugh. So when he would start laughing, I would start like cackling. But basically, like it was still like I don't know, like it was cool. I don't regret going there. Like yeah, it wasn't really funny. Um, Basically, there were like two comedians doing 15 minutes each, then a 15-minute break, and then another two comedians doing 15 minutes each. And I've seen, a few empty seats after the break. Some people did not come back. So I guess that says a bit about it. But honestly, the vibe was really cool. But basically, yeah, like it wasn't that funny honestly there, but I don't regret going there because the how do I say it, the whole building was cool, the vibe was cool, cool music playing. And then on the drive back by accident we went to like a car meet, which I didn't even, well, I kind of know that it was going on, but I forgot about it completely. And yeah, we went there and it was kind of cool. There was a bunch of customized cars, lower, fancy paint jobs, custom exhausts, and on and on. So there was mainly BMWs, but I saw a Mark IV Supra, which was cool. I saw a really nice bronze 350Z, which looked really nice. Um, there was a C63 Mercedes, which was really cool because I never heard that 6.2-liter engine. And this was my first time hearing it in person, and it sounds it sounds really good. I don't know if the guy has done anything to the exhaust, but honestly, it sounded really, really cool. But yeah, other than that, mainly BMWs, not much else, honestly. Weren't really a lot of JDMs and not really a lot of American muscle. The main thing was BMWs. And yeah, I saw a couple of Challengers, but nothing extremely, you know, insane. I guess, the Supra left the biggest impression because it had a pretty decent two-step to the point where, I almost had to cover my ears. But yeah, we came, I'd say, toward the end of this, so I don't really know, what we missed. Maybe there was something else there, but all in all, it was actually pretty cool. Now, one very convenient thing happened. So basically, what I wanted to do for this show, like in the previous episode, of this episode, and the future episodes, is basically a segment that I would like to call Taste the World, where basically, I get something, from around the world and just taste test it, see, just, basically taste it. And the friend that I went to the stand up with, he went to Japan recently, and he left me some candy, some Japanese candy he brought from Japan. And I kind of maybe would like to translate this, what does this mean, but I honestly have no idea. So I guess I should just open it up, see what is it, and just maybe taste test it. Okay, so it's basically, I think I had something very similar. I don't know if you can see it properly, but this is just, seem like, not gummy candy, but like, I don't know how to really call it. Yeah. I really don't like eating on camera. Whenever I was making more like fitness type videos, I remember doing like a 10,000 calorie challenge, and I just couldn't film myself eating because I find it really awkward. And somebody commented like, dude, you didn't even film yourself eating anything. Like, yeah, because I find it extremely awkward. So I really want to do this segment on the show, but eating on camera is something that I will have to work on. So honestly, I had something like that here back home. Honestly, it really reminds me of something that I had before. Now I'll have to figure out a way how do I cover the empty space of me just chewing, no audio, but yeah, I really had something like this back home, so I guess it's not really anything special, but I don't know, kind of cool eating something from Japan. I ate a couple of candy, and I'm trying to remember where could I have had something like this, but honestly, it tastes like just a generic candy that um, you could just get, basically anywhere. It's just like a gummy, chewy, don't even know how to properly call it. But basically, what else he had was, as he said, the world's worst tasting candy. And it did taste awful. I wouldn't say it's the world's worst because I think there should be something worse than that. But it honestly, there was another candy that was like a hearty chew that was like almost like reminded me of like a jawbreaker where you had to, bite really hard, and then I don't know, it tasted honestly like sour and something else, which was a really bad combo. And honestly, uh, it really was not good. So I don't know. What am I gonna be doing with this segment? Taste the world, but I guess, maybe I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll buy some stuff. Maybe I'll cut it. Who cares? Now, I would like to go again with the same segment that I did in the previous episode, because it's actually quite simple and I enjoy doing this. Makes you think a tiny bit. And it is, what would you choose? So the first one is summer versus winter. We basically, today is the 3rd and it's officially summer. So yeah, this is one of those things where it's like really almost like 50-50, I guess, for me and for most people. But basically, Pros of summer, you can just get out of bed and go outside in your underwear. Like basically, it's hot, and you don't need to dress up that much. And you can just go, maybe if you have like a summer car that you only, really try to take care of, you can go cruising in that. You can go swimming, um, which, it really depends on what kind of person you are and what you like doing. But with winter, it's cold quite often. My home is cold, so when I roll out of bed, it's really cold. I need to dress up quickly. If you want to just go outside for a walk, you need to like put, like 5 layers of clothing, which is annoying. And, where I live, the evenings are really short, like during like December, like towards the end of December, like it gets dark at like 5 p.m., which really sucks. But what winter has is snowboarding, which I really like, even though I'm really bad at it, and other like snow activities. In summer, it's much more simple to travel. It's safer to travel than during winter, where you can just go off road and crash because there's like black ice or something. So I don't know. I want to say summer, but I keep doing this. I need to let go of the pen completely. But the thing with summer for me is that if it's cold for me, like I just can't say like, oh, it's cold, it sucks. But if it's hot, it's too hot for me, I get really grumpy and I get really snappy and I just become a tiny bit of a not exactly the nicest person, I might say. I don't know why, but I cannot really handle heat. So yeah, this is another big con for me for summer. And even though I love snowboarding and other snow activities, it just seems like summer has more pros than cons. Like more pros than winter. So even though I'm like kind of splitting in half, I'm still going to say summer. Now, this one is about cars. Old school analog versus new tech. And without a doubt, I can just go and say old school analog. I when it comes to cars and especially newer ones, like I hate all of those screens. I don't know why, but I really like the buttons and everything and the click of a button. But like touch screens, it's for me, it's like I don't know. I find it kind of boring, honestly. Like I feel like if you put more screens in a car and get rid of buttons, it seems like you're kind of losing the car is losing a tiny bit of its soul, I guess. So yeah, I always been old school, and I'm probably always going to stay old school. I'm gonna say that no doubt analog is what I'm gonna go with. And yeah, like new cars, yeah, they're like much faster, more comfortable. When it comes to sound insulation, maybe older cars can like compete with that in that regard. But honestly, like to round up, this is what I'm gonna say. Like new cars have better specs, more power, faster, this and that, and whatever. But what I care the most about cars is the soul and how it feels. And even though older analog cars, yeah, they're gonna be slower and like basically uh, have worse specs, less power, slower, on and on and on. But for me, older cars have much more soul. Like there's just more fun, like it seems much more fun to drive than a new one. New cars feel soulless for some reason. And I honestly, I thought about this for a while and I spent quite a bit of time thinking about it. Like, why do older cars feel like they have more soul than the new ones? And honestly, I can't even explain it to myself, but this is something that I just feel. Like older cars, they're just more fun. They have more soul, and I'm always gonna go old school. Yes, new tech, yeah, it helps out. All the cameras and parking sensors help you with parking and so on, but they don't have as much soul. So, we're staying now on the topic of cars, manual or automatic forever. So this is a difficult one because it says forever. Now, I live in a very small town. So honestly, driving a manual is not, not like it's good. You know, I imagine if you live like in a big city and there's like a traffic jam and you like constantly, first neutral, first second neutral, like you're driving like really slowly and just a couple of meters and then you back into neutral. Yeah, it really sucks and it would probably become annoying really fast. But because I live in a small town and because, I love manuals, this is probably like an easy one for me, you know? I would stick to manual. Honestly, like the S class that I have is cool that it's automatic because I think S class is supposed to be automatic, but I would love to have like I don't have a manual car right now, so I would love to have something with a manual gearbox. Just maybe find myself a curvy road and just go in the evenings and just like shifting gears yourself is so much fun. Honestly, it adds quite a bit to the driving experience. Now, this is back to adventure now, skydiving or cave diving, and this is an easy one for me. I would no doubt choose skydiving. I would honestly, I never, went skydiving. I would love to go skydiving. Cave diving, that is a big no for me. I've seen so many accidents in cave dives where like a small mistake costs you a lot, which as well can happen in skydiving, but like I'm really claustrophobic. So going even like into a cave, not like just like spelunking, just caving, not cave diving, would be really scary for me. So cave diving is like such an insane thing in my mind. Like there's a YouTube channel called Scary Interesting, and I would binge watch all their videos, and quite a few of them were about cave diving and just you lose your grip on the what is it called the guide rope, or maybe you just move a bit too much and you raise what is it called all of the sut, like all of the I forgot the word for it, but basically you move too fast, you move the dirt around you and you cannot see your hand in front of your face, and it is insane for me. And all of the like stuff with like the deeper you go you need like different like gas mixtures, you know if you go too deep with a wrong mixture you can get like uh oxygen narcosis and like a bunch of other stuff. So there's like so many things, just so many things need to go right for you to come back alive. So me being really claustrophobic and all of the other stuff that can go bad, I am no doubt gonna choose skydiving. Honestly, I am like very open-minded. I would like to try as many things as I can in my lifetime. Cave diving is not one of them. Honestly, I can tell this without a doubt that cave diving is something that I'm gonna say no each and every time if somebody offers it to me. I am definitely not going to go and just try it, like ask somebody, oh, I want to try. No, I'm not trying it, and that's probably like there's like a pretty small list of things that I don't want to try out, but cave diving is probably at the top of it. Like I'm not even joking. Now, next one. Explore abandoned cities or untouched nature. Now, you know, I've been thinking about this one when I wrote this down, and okay, explore abandoned cities. Like, yeah, like it's really cool. So, I don't know, like maybe let's take for example something like Chernobyl, but let's imagine it without like radiation. So yeah, it's a massive city, and like I imagine like it would be really cool and interesting going from building to building, seeing what you can find, seeing what people left, and on and on. But like untouched nature seems like, you know, like you don't know what you can find. If you're like maybe okay, if there's like a big space of like completely untouched nature, maybe you could find like a waterfall, like maybe you can find this or that, maybe even a new animal species. Like it would be so interesting, and in my mind I would like this more than cities. Now when I say untouched nature, for some reason I imagine jungle. I don't know why. Like a rainforest, jungle, something of that type, and it honestly doesn't have to be, like that, but in my mind I imagine that, and I just, imagine how interesting it would be to just maybe with a 5 people group, just walking through a jungle and just slowly making your way, getting lost, which in the jungle is probably there's 100% of that happening, 100% chance. But I imagine that like, you know, exploring an abandoned city, it seems like extremely interesting. But exploring untouched nature, it seems to be like the same but more. You get what I mean? Like it seems like it would be so much more interesting, like going into untouched nature and seeing what you can find. And I would definitely choose that. Now, the last one for what would you choose? Planned trips or spontaneous trips? And honestly, you know, the thing is, like, it seems like, uh, you know, it depends on what you look at as like better. So, for example, if you have a planned trip, so you're probably going to avoid some issues and you're going to avoid some problems that you would have on a spontaneous trip. But the thing is, sometimes those issues and those problems make the trip more interesting. So if you have a planned trip, everything's gonna go smoother. If you have like a planned trip, like there's gonna always gonna be issues, always gonna be problems, and things just can't happen, on a planned trip. And on a spontaneous trip, it's gonna be the same, but probably with more issues and more problems. But sometimes this what makes the trip better. So this is what I'm gonna say. If I'm going somewhere alone, if I'm going solo, I would like to go. I like to have it planned out. There's the gas station. I'm gonna stop there to film that. I'm gonna stop there to see that. If this happens, I can do that. I like planning it out. But if I'm going somewhere with my boys, like with a group of people, with my friends, spontaneous is much more fun. You're not exactly sure what you're doing, and you don't even know what can happen and what kind of issues you can run into. So basically, I'm gonna say this. This one where I'm not gonna answer clearly. This is where I'm gonna give you like a 50-50 answer. So I'm gonna say this. Planned trips if I'm going solo, if I'm going alone. Now spontaneous trip if I'm going with my boys and I'm going with my friends. Because, you know, when you run into an issue alone, it sucks. But when you run into an issue with your friends, it's almost kind of fun. So I'm not gonna give you a clear answer. I'm gonna stick to that. Planned trips if solo, and spontaneous if with a group of boys. And that's gonna be it for the segment called What Would You Choose? And now, um, well, I have written down Street Legends, the segment that I talk about cars and car culture and people in that culture. And I have written down, why no cars feel soulless. And I think I kind of answered that, talking about old school analog versus new tech. But honestly, I don't even know what gives the car soul. So one thing is like newer cars are really well, they're under strict regulations. Sound and not fuel consumption. What is it called? You know, am I that stupid to forget that? Basically, exhaust gases. CO2 and such. Basically, like older cars, yeah, like when you, let's say, I don't know, like basically older cars, let's say with bigger engines, like you press on the gas, like the whole car shakes a tiny bit. And sound insulation is worse, which in that case is good. The exhausts are a tiny bit more open, it rumbles a tiny bit more. Newer cars, they're quieter, they have soft limiters, they have such and such. And yeah, I'd say that as well as that, older cars being more analog as well adds, soul, and buttons add soul, and all of those, like screens, which I really don't like, feel like you're driving like a microwave on wheels. So, I'm gonna stick to older cars for as long as I can. Because yeah, like for example, like my S class, it's a tiny bit difficult to maintain. Like I needed, I don't even know what it's called in English. I needed a mass airflow sensor, and like finding it was a tiny bit difficult. And the one I found, I bought like from a really crappy manufacturer. That's a difficult word to say for me. And then I found one from Bosch, which was 4 times the price, so I didn't even buy it. So yeah, like finding parts for it a tiny bit difficult, and keeping it in good condition is a tiny bit difficult. But when it comes to soul, yeah, older cars have much more of it. I just can't really explain it well. Um, why do they have more soul? It's it's something that I would need to like sit down for like 10 or 15 minutes and just think about it. But honestly, right now, newer cars for me feel like microwaves on wheels instead of like actual cars. And like most people, they don't really care about it. Like for most people, cars are something that you can just go from point A to point B. But for me and a lot of people, there's like a lot of car enthusiasts. Like, yeah, cars are something, something more than just pieces of metal. But it seems like cars right now are just being made as, microwaves on wheels. I don't know. It would be interesting if you would share your opinion about this. But honestly, I'm kind of running out of time, and I don't really have anything else to talk about, honestly. So yeah, let's pick a question to discuss in the comments. Let's say, you know what, summer versus winter. Let's start a discussion in the comments. I want to hear what do you like more, summer or winter. But that's gonna be it for the second episode of Streets to Summits. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and see ya next Thursday.